All right. So let's dive into something I think everyone thinks about, at some point in their lives, finding your purpose. And we've got this really interesting mix of sources for this deep dive.
Yeah.
From, like Carl Jung and Viktor Frankl
Right.
to like modern life coaches.
Yeah.
And even like some ancient Kabbalah wisdom.
It is fascinating how this topic just transcends time and cultures.
Totally.
We're looking at perspectives that span centuries and continents, but they all grapple with this like fundamental human question.
Yeah.
What are we here for?
What are we here for?
Yeah.
And get this, one of our sources, a video exploring Jung's philosophy, throws out this wild idea. Finding your purpose isn't about like chasing happiness,
Right.
but finding something worth sacrificing for. And they even use examples like Socrates and Jesus, like talk about intensity.
Well, Jung points that those figures found their purpose not through self-gratification,
Right.
but through dedication to something larger than themselves. They were willing to sacrifice comfort, security, even their lives for what they believed in.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, how does this idea of sacrifice resonate in our modern world,
Right.
that often prioritizes instant gratification and personal fulfillment?
That's a great question because it's not like we're all going to be martyrs.
Right.
But the video does highlight everyday examples too.
Yeah.
Like think about parents devoting themselves to their kids.
Right.
Activists fighting for causes they believe in. Or even just someone dedicating years to mastering a craft.
Yeah.
It's about that deep commitment to something beyond your immediate needs.
Exactly. And that dedication often involves sacrifice, whether it's time, energy, or comfort.
Yeah.
And it seems kind of counterintuitive in a culture that's so obsessed with, self-care and happiness.
Right.
But maybe there's a deeper satisfaction that comes from aligning yourself with a purpose that transcends your own ego.
So it's not about seeking comfort, but meaning.
Precisely, it challenges us to think about what we're willing to give up for something we truly believe in.
Okay, now another source, a video featuring Robert Greene, takes a slightly different but equally intriguing approach.
Okay.
He says finding your purpose is like falling in love. You have to be obsessed with the idea of finding it. And here's where it gets interesting. He even suggests using hate as fuel.
That sounds provocative.
I know, right?
But what Green means is not dwelling in negativity.
Right.
He's talking about harnessing the power of rejection.
Okay.
It's about identifying what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
What feels inauthentic or uninspiring to you, and using that as a springboard to propel you toward your true path.
I like that. And he really emphasizes specificity, too.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just say, I hate my job.
Right.
He urges you to look back at your childhood, those moments of pure excitement, even if they seem insignificant on the surface.
Yeah.
He uses Steve Jobs as an example.
Okay.
Specifically, his early fascination with the mechanics of cameras. Who knew that fiddling with lenses as a kid could be a clue to like revolutionizing the tech industry?
It's about paying attention to those seemingly insignificant details.
Oh, yeah.
Those moments where you lose track of time and become completely absorbed in something.
Yeah.
What were those activities for you? What kind of tasks, even mundane ones, brought you genuine joy?
Right.
Could those childhood passions hold clues to what might bring you fulfillment today?
Okay, now let's shift gears completely.
Okay.
We've got a source that dives into Kabbalah, this ancient Jewish mystical tradition.
Right.
And it suggests that our true purpose isn't found out there in the world, but rather it's already within us. It's like we have this inner compass,
Yeah.
but we've forgotten how to read it.
They use this really vivid analogy of a glass.
Okay.
When the glass is pure, it allows light to shine through clearly.
Okay.
In Kabbalah, that light represents your soul's purpose, your unique contribution to the world. But impurities like ego, jealousy, and negativity cloud the glass, making it harder to see your purpose clearly.
So it's not just about what you do, but how you do it.
Exactly.
Even everyday tasks like washing dishes or responding to emails can become expressions of your purpose if you approach them with the right consciousness.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a state of inner clarity and alignment so that your actions, no matter how small, become a reflection of your soul's purpose.
Okay.
And that brings us to a really thought-provoking point raised by Michael Berg,
Okay.
a prominent Kabbalah teacher. He suggests that the things we resist or find uncomfortable might actually hold clues to our purpose.
Oh, way.
It's almost like our soul is using discomfort to nudge us in the right direction.
Now, speaking of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yeah.
we have to talk about Mel Robbins and Martha Beck.
Okay.
These two life coaches are all about embracing those moments when you feel stuck?
Both Robbins and Beck see stuckness not as a failure,
Wow.
but as a necessary part of transformation. Think of it like a caterpillar in its cocoon.
Yeah.
It feels trapped, constricted,
Uh-huh.
but that's actually a crucial phase before it emerges as a butterfly.
Robbins even shares a personal story in one of our sources about feeling incredibly stuck while raising her child who has a disability.
Right.
But instead of resisting that feeling, she surrendered to it, embraced the idea of being held by a greater force, and found a new level of strength and purpose.
And Beck adds a fascinating neurological perspective.
Oh.
She says that feeling stuck is often a sign that your brain is on the verge of a breakthrough. It's like your subconscious mind is working behind the scenes, piecing together a new understanding, and the feeling of stuckness is just a signal that something big is about to shift.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. They both talk about this technique of flipping negative thoughts to their opposites.
Yeah.
So instead of dwelling on, I'm stuck, you ask, what if this is actually an opportunity for growth? It sounds almost too simple. But they argue it's a powerful way to reframe your perspective and access your creative potential.
It's about shifting from the analytical problem-solving mode of the left brain to the more intuitive creative space of the right hemisphere.
Okay.
Think about those aha moments you have when you're not actively trying to solve a problem. That's your right brain at work, bypassing logic to tack into a deeper level of knowing.
So it's not about ignoring problems, but approaching them from a different angle.
Exactly. It's about accessing a different part of your brain, the part that's connected to intuition, creativity, and a sense of possibility.
Now, to add another layer to this whole purpose puzzle, let's take a quick trip to Japan and explore Ikigai, which translates to reason for being.
Ikigai offers this really practical framework for finding that sweet spot where your passions and talents intersect with what the world needs and what you can be paid for. It's not just about pursuing your passion in a vacuum, but finding a way to make a meaningful contribution to the world while also creating a sustainable life for yourself.
It's like the Venn diagram of a fulfilling life.
Right.
You've got what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And the sweet spot is right in the center where all those circles overlap.
Precisely. And achieving that alignment, that's where the magic happens.
Now, with all this talk about inner compasses and creative potential, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually quiet my mind enough to hear my inner voice in all this noise?
Well, our final source features some wisdom from Dr. K, a psychiatrist who specializes in helping people reconnect with their true selves. Dr. K makes this really interesting point. Our modern world, with its constant stimulation and information overload, is actually numbing us to our internal signals. It's like we've become so reliant on external validation and distractions that we've lost touch with what truly matters to us.
He uses this analogy of a numb tongue.
Yeah.
If your tongue is numb, you can't really taste anything. Similarly, when we're constantly bombarded with external stimuli, our inner compass, our ability to feel what truly resonates with us, becomes dull.
Yeah.
We end up chasing what we think we should want instead of listening to what our heart truly desires.
And this is where the value of boredom comes in.
Boredom.
Not boredom as in apathy, but boredom as in creating space for stillness and quiet reflection.
So we're trading constant stimulation for a little bit of stillness that feels almost rebellious in today's world.
It does, doesn't it? But it's in those moments of quiet when we unplug from the external noise that our inner voice can finally be heard.
Right.
It's like creating a space for our intuition, our creativity, and those deeper yearnings to surface.
You know, one of our sources actually touches on this idea in like a really practical way.
Okay.
Martha Beck, the life coach we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
She has this exercise called Your Ideal Day. You ever tried that one?
I have. It's amazing how such a simple exercise can be so revealing.
It's more than just like a to-do list for a perfect day, though, right?
Yeah.
You're really tapping into your senses, your emotions. What truly brings you joy?
Exactly. It's about engaging that right hemisphere of your brain.
Yeah.
The part that's connected to creativity, intuition, and a sense of wholeness.
Right.
It helps you bypass the logical, analytical mind and tap into a deeper level of knowing.
You know, I remember the first time I did that exercise, I actually caught myself smiling as I was writing. It's like I was giving myself permission to dream, to imagine a life that felt truly aligned with my deepest desires.
That's the power of visualization.
Yeah.
It's not just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
It's about activating those neural pathways in your brain that make it more likely for you to actually create that reality.
And it ties in so well with what Dr. K was saying about numbing ourselves with external stimulation.
Yeah.
This ideal day exercise is like an antidote to that numbness.
Right.
It's about reawakening those senses, those desires that have maybe been dormant for a while.
It's like clearing out the cobwebs in your mind and creating a space for new possibilities to emerge.
You know, it's striking how so many of these sources, even though they come from such different backgrounds, seem to be pointing the same direction.
Yeah.
It's not about finding the one right answer when it comes to purpose, but about cultivating a deeper connection with yourself.
It's like they're all whispering the answers are already within you. You just need to learn how to listen.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of quieting the mind, embracing discomfort, and even flipping those negative thoughts.
Right.
But what about the external world? How do we take all this internal work and actually apply it to our lives, to our careers, to our relationships?
That's where the Japanese concept of ikigai becomes incredibly helpful.
Okay.
Remember, it's not just about what brings you joy, but about finding that intersection between your passions, your talents, what the world needs, and what you can actually get paid for.
It's like finding that sweet spot where your unique contribution meets a genuine need in the world.
Exactly. So let's say you discover through some of these exercises that you love working with your hands. You have a knack for design, and you're passionate about sustainability.
Yeah.
Maybe that leads you to explore a career in building eco-friendly furniture. Or perhaps you realize you have a gift for communication, you love connecting with people, and you're passionate about mental health awareness.
Yeah.
Could that lead you to a career as a therapist or counselor?
It's so interesting how those seemingly separate passions can actually weave together to create something truly unique and impactful.
And that's where the real magic of Ikigai lies, in that feeling of alignment, of knowing that you're not just working to pay the bills, but that you're actually making a difference in the world while doing something you genuinely enjoy.
Now, I have to admit, sometimes I hear all this talk about finding your purpose, and it can feel a bit overwhelming. Like, what if I'm not feeling that grand sense of purpose? What if I'm still figuring things out?
That's completely normal. Remember, finding your purpose isn't a one-time event.
Right.
It's an ongoing process. It's about continuously evolving, exploring, and deepening your understanding of yourself and your place in the world.
So it's more about the journey than the destination.
Exactly. And it's a journey with twists and turns, detours, and unexpected discoveries. There will be times when you feel lost, uncertain, or even frustrated. That's all part of the process.
So we shouldn't beat ourselves up if we don't have it all figured out.
Absolutely not. It's about being kind to yourself, trusting the process, and remembering that there's no one right way to do this. You're not behind if you're still exploring, or if your sense of purpose shifts over time.
I love that it takes the pressure off, but let's be real. There are those days when that inner critic just takes over. You know, that voice that tells you you're not good enough, not talented enough, or that your dreams are too big.
We all have that inner critic.
Yeah.
But remember what we learned about flipping those negative thoughts.
Right.
When that voice pops up challenge, ask yourself, is this thought truly serving me, or is it just holding me back?
It's like we have to train ourselves to become more aware of those negative thought patterns and consciously choose to focus on thoughts that empower us and move us closer to our goals.
Exactly. It's a practice like building a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it becomes to silence that inner critic and tap into that inner cheerleader, that voice that believes in you and your potential.
And you know what? Even if you don't have all the answers right now, even if you're still feeling your way through the darkness, just the act of asking these questions, of seeking a deeper understanding of yourself and your purpose, is already a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating that inner awareness, that curiosity, and that willingness to explore. And that's what this whole deep dive has been about, right? Exploring different perspectives, challenging our assumptions, and maybe even sparking some new insights about what it means to live a life filled with purpose.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've talked about ancient wisdom, modern psychology, even Japanese philosophy, and they all seem to be converging on this idea that finding your purpose is less about discovering some predetermined path and more about cultivating a way of being.
It's like the path unfolds as you walk it.
Right.
You clarify your values, you experiment, you pay attention to what energizes you, and the direction becomes clearer over time.
It's not a treasure hunt.
Right.
It's more like gardening, right? You plant seeds, you tend to them, and sometimes you have to like prune back the things that aren't thriving to make room for new growth.
That's a great analogy. And just like a garden, there are seasons, there might be periods of rapid growth, times of dormancy, and even moments where you have to clear away the dead wood to make space for something new to emerge.
So even those times when we feel lost or stuck, they're not failures. They're just part of the natural cycle of growth.
Exactly. And just like a gardener learns to read the subtle signs of the plants, we can learn to tune in to our own internal signals, those whispers of intuition and desire that guide us toward what feels truly authentic and aligned.
One thing that really struck me from all these sources is the emphasis on personal responsibility. It's not about waiting for some external force to reveal our purpose to us, but about actively engaging in the process of self-discovery and creation.
It's empowering, isn't it? It means we're not just passive recipients of some predetermined fate, but active participants in shaping our own lives and contributing to the world in a meaningful way.
It makes me think about that quote from Viktor Frankl: man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life, and not a secondary rationalization of instinctual drives. We're hardwired for this.
It's in our DNA to seek purpose and meaning, and while the specific expression of that purpose might vary from person to person, that underlying drive is universal.
So what do we do with all this? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the first step is simply to acknowledge that you're on this journey. You're not alone in asking these questions and feeling lost or uncertain. At times, we're all figuring this out together.
Maybe it's less about finding a definitive answer and more about cultivating a sense of curiosity, an openness to exploring different possibilities, and a willingness to trust the process.
Exactly. Embrace the journey. Be kind to yourself along the way, and remember that even small steps taken with intention can lead to incredible transformations.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive on finding your purpose. But hopefully this has given you some new insights and tools to help you on your own journey of self-discovery. Thanks for listening.